There are 5 people in my house, but only 3 are living. Our home has 2 spirits, a little boy of around 10 to 11 years old, and an old man. My son first became aware of the old man when he was playing on his backyard swing one day with his friend a few months after moving into our home. My son and his friend were sitting on the swing together, one of those big saucer ones, and his friend got up. My son stayed seated playing with his toy when he felt the weight of someone sit down on the swing with him. Thinking it was his friend, he began talking to him. From across the yard, his friend asked who he was talking to. My son looked up to where his friend stood on the other side of the yard and realized that someone was still sitting next to him, but he was too afraid to look over all the way. The boys told me this story afterwards, and my son claims that the person next to him was an older man, about his grandfather's age, 65, and looking back on it after that initial shock, he said the man felt friendly. I believe the old man looks out for us. I've had things go missing only for them to end up in odd but helpful places, like someone is moving them for us to help us later. For example, a necklace I wore for years broke the first night we moved in. Upset because it was sentimental to me, I set it on the living room table, and when I went back for it the next day, it was gone. I figured it just got moved by my husband, but he swore he hadn't touched it and the last place he saw it was the table. My son had no idea it was missing at all until I told him. I found that necklace a year later in my bedside table drawer, buried under papers and junk. Tonight, I lit a candle and set my lighter on the dresser. When I went to grab it again a few minutes later, it wasn't there. I spotted it sitting on the ensuite bathroom windowsill, somewhere I hadn't gone in those few minutes. As I turned to grab it, a spider walked across my bedroom carpet between me and the bathroom. But not just any spider. A brown recluse. And it was heading straight for my bed I was about to get into. If I hadn't been looking for the lighter, I wouldn't have seen it. We've had other things disappear and reappear in this manner many times, and I believe it's that old man trying to help us out. If anyone is interested in this story, I'll post about the little boy next. We think he's from the time before the home was built, and his story is a little creepier. Very interesting. Please post about the little boy next. You have me intrigued. Wow, that spider story is wild. Yes, please, a detailed story about the little boy would be fantastic. I narrate stories we find online for our podcast and would love to feature both stories if you allow us to. Did the old man talk with your son? He didn't speak, nor did my son get a good enough look at him head-on to give me much of a description. He saw him more out of his peripheral and ballparked that he was about his grandpa's age but couldn't tell me much more than that. Yes, please. I would love to read more. I would love to read more. I'd love to talk with you. I have a podcast, Beyond the Woodline. If you're interested in sharing your stories, let me know. Thanks so much for your time and for sharing Open Mouth Smile. What's Beyond the Woodline about? And how does one access it? It's a podcast that covers the strange and mysterious. It's available on Spotify and YouTube. Okay. We'll definitely give it a YouTube subscription. Thank you. I'd love to. Awesome. Shoot me a message if you don't mind and we'll get it all figured out. Thanks so much. Deleted. That's what we like to think. Especially after the spider incident. Please post about the little boy. Iota would like to read about it. For those interested in the little boy's story, I have posted it here. https://www.reddit.com/r/ghoststories/s/p3urbny